Tonight, we're going to put together a classic recipe. And the cool thing is that we can put this recipe together and feed our family for less than $10. We're going to put together a delicious casserole of chicken and rice. And we're going to have it with a side serving of a green vegetable. And it's going to be delicious. Now, get comfortable and stay right there. Welcome to Ebony, Ivy, and Thyme. I'm Leona Dooley, and tonight in the kitchen, we're going to fix a classic chicken and rice. Now, the classic chicken and rice used to be for me just to toss that rice in the casserole dish, put in the seasonings, the liquids, put the chicken in, cover it up, throw it in the oven, and it was done. But you know what? Now that I like to play a little more in the kitchen, we're going to take this classic recipe to a whole new level, and it's going to be absolutely decadent. So let's get ready. And you know what? Before I forget, the cool thing is that we're going to be able to do this entire meal to feed our family for less than $10. How about that? So buckle your seatbelt and let's get ready to cook. I have placed about 3 tablespoons of olive oil into this skillet. And I've also added in a couple of tablespoons of butter. And I'm just letting that melt. And what we're going to do is that we're going to let it get hot. The chicken I soaked overnight in some buttermilk, and I'm going to place it into this skillet, and I'm going to place it skin side down. Now I'm also going to sprinkle the chicken with some of my house seasoning, and that's what I have in the jar, the house seasoning. And so I'm pouring off any excess liquids that might have accumulated into the Ziploc bag of the chicken. And it was 4 chicken thighs, and that would be a nice serving for 4 people. So you're going to have plenty to eat. So let me get those into our skillet. The fun thing about this dish is that when the big guy and I were newlyweds, his brother or an uncle would come by for dinner. And I wasn't used to really cooking for a crowd. And I found that they got used to coming always on the day that I prepared the chicken and rice. And the recipe has developed over the years, but they loved it. And there was never any left. And I would cook for 2, but I always had enough for 4. So there's something about this dish that just seems to bring everybody to the table. So I'm sharing it with you. And like I said, I've kicked it up a bit, so I will tell you the things that I've changed. After I sprinkle our chicken with some house seasoning, we're going to let it stay in the skillet, and I'm going to let the chicken cook part of the way right here in the skillet. So the skin is going to get nice and brown and crispy, and then once it's crispy, I'll flip it over and we'll finish it up. Well, I'm going to chop up this onion, and I'll look at how much we have. It's really about a medium white onion. You could use whatever type of onion that you like. If you have a yellow, use a yellow. And actually, even if you had a red, you could use it as well. But I'm just going to dice it up nice and small because I have one little person that if there's any sighting of onion, it's gone. So I'm going to cut these so that it's comfortable for us. And most of the onion, to be honest with you, will pretty much almost disappear by the time it's in the rice mixture. No one will even notice that it's there. So we're going to get this chopped up pretty small, and then add it to the mixture so that it's ready. Now, when that chicken is nice and brown, we are going to add these onions in. You'll see they're really thin little pieces. I'm just kind of running through them, as well as I had some mushrooms, and I've got some Bella mushrooms that I'm going to add into my rice as well. Now, take a look at this chicken. I flipped it over. I'm just putting just a little tiny bit of seasoning on this side because I had not seasoned this side. Remember, I put this side immediately down into the pan, and you'll see that they've browned very nicely. So I'm just going to put a little seasoning, just a tiny bit, on each of them. And you'll see all those good juices down there in the bottom of the pan. I can tell you all of that is going to go into our rice. And, I'm cooking the chicken pretty much on just a low, now I'll say medium low level, because I wanted to get halfway done at least. And I wanted to release a lot of its juices. Now, over in this other pan, I'm going to sit the chicken. Once I see that it's browned on pretty much on both sides, then I'll start to take it out of the pan. So I'm just flipping it over for a few minutes to see how it's doing. And I can also tell by the texture of it as to whether how close it is to being totally done. This one's pretty done. So I'm going to go ahead and pull it out. And I'm going to do that with all of them. Now, there's still quite a bit of goodness is on the bottom of this pan. So we're going to be releasing that with some chicken broth. So we've got our chicken. You'll see I'm kind of taking the chicken and rubbing the bottom of the pan, releasing some of the little goodies that stuck to the bottom. I'm just taking those and getting them out. Now, look in that skillet. All of that looks good. Now, we're going to be using that. So I'm going to add the onion to this, and I'm going to let all of this onion, that one onion that I'm going to add into this. Remember, we had olive oil and 2 tablespoons of, excuse me, of butter. So in this, here's the few little mushrooms that I had. I just had a little bit left. And these are actually mushrooms that I froze. So I'm taking them and putting them in. They're not frozen at this point. I did let them thaw because I want them to go ahead and do a little cooking. I didn't want a lot of mushrooms. Now, if you wanted to chop yours up smaller because there may be someone in your household who doesn't like them when they're large, or if they can see them, then certainly go ahead and chop, 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 because the mushrooms really do add a great texture to your rice mixture. So we're letting this cook, and I'm turning the fire up just a little bit. So I'm going to let that cook until the onion is nice and clear. I'm going to add a little extra pepper. And I haven't quite decided yet whether I'll add any red pepper flakes or not. But I have not at this point put in any additional salt other than the little bit of salt that was in the house seasoning. And as you know, most of my house seasoning is everything but salt. So that helps me to keep control as to how much salt that I'm using. Now, let me tell you, there's always one thing that you have to watch for. Sometimes your chicken broth is salty. So you do need to make sure that you check that so that you'll know whether or not you need to add or take away a certain amount of salt. I did have a little bit of garlic, excuse me, that I had stored in the refrigerator. So I'm putting in 4 garlic cloves that had been soaking in some olive oil. And, I keep a little container of that in the refrigerator all the time. And it makes up a delicious garlic oil. So I'm just taking those, they're nice and soft. And I'm kind of breaking them up just with the back of the spoon. And this is working out great. So it's going to add nice garlicky flavor to our onions and mushrooms and all those good things. Now, I'm going to let this sizzle for a moment. And then we're going to add in about a cup and a half to almost a cup and 3/4 of rice. And this is a mixture of both white and brown rice. We're going to mix this rice mixture and we're going to let it get nice and toasty. And then we're going to add in the liquid. And once we do that, this chicken and rice is going into the casserole dish and we're going to bake it. So let's get ready for that. Now, once everything seems pretty toasty in the skillet, and it has pretty much taken up all of the goodness that was in that skillet, then we're going to be ready to transfer all of this to our casserole dish. And you can see that the rice has started to brown, the onions are brown, and the mushroom is certainly soaking up, as well as the rice, everything that was in the pan. Now I'm bringing over my Mikasa rectangular baking dish, and it holds about 3 quarts of substance. So we're going to put the rice mixture on the bottom, and we're going to scrape to make sure that we get everything into that dish. Now notice, I have not sprayed this dish. And the good thing about it is that it's very friendly to baking, in that anything that you put into it, it will release it. And that's why I like it, because I don't have to worry about a lot of material sticking to the side. It will stick a little bit, but you know, once you put some nice warm soapy water on it, it washes right off. So that's a good thing. Now, I'm going to take our chicken, and you know, I use thighs. You could use breast, you can use legs, you can use whatever part. If you have a whole chicken, you could even cut that chicken up into pieces and use those chicken parts in your rice dish. I have certainly done that. This is what I had because that's what was available. And so I was amazed that I was able to get, and you'll see when this is all over with, it makes 2 dinners for just the big guy and I. But if we had the kids here, I could get everybody fed and they would definitely be full with the dish that I have here. Now I have about 3 cups, 3 almost 4 cups of chicken broth. And my chicken broth is just a little salty, a little saltier than I like. Now I have 2 choices. I haven't added much salt into this mixture, so I'm going to keep it pretty much the way it is, because I know the chicken's going to release a little more liquid. So that's 1 cup. There's 2 cups. And we're going to add just a little more. There's 3 cups. And I'm thinking I may want to add just a little bit more, because I don't want the rice to be totally dry. And I definitely want it done. I don't want it crispy rice. You know, I want good, well-cooked rice. So I've put in about 4 cups of liquid. And you'll see it's very, very soupy. But at this point, I'm just going to nestle the chicken pieces down into the rice, so that the chicken will finish cooking, and as well as the rice is going to cook. And I'm going to cover this with foil. It's going to stay under wrap for an hour. And at the end of that hour, I'll take it out, take a look at it, and see whether or not the rice is ready. The chicken I'm not worried about. The rice is what I'm concerned about. I want it to be the texture that I want. So I'm sealing the top of this casserole dish with the wax with the foil, and I'm going to place it in a. I haven't decided. I think I'm gonna start it at 400, and then I may cut it down to 350 later on, and we can always make those adjustments as we go, or as we get closer to the time. So I'm putting in our 400 and getting it going. I'm gonna give it just enough time to come up to temperature, and it's ready. And once it's at 400, I'm gonna place our dish in. And I will check on this in 1 hour. So let's look and see what we've got after the first hour. And this way we can tell whether or not it's ready. So I'm going to take it out. And this is a pretty heavy dish, especially because it's full. And of course now the rice is starting to soak up all of the good liquid. So let's see how we've done. Oh yeah. Now you want your rice to be tender. So you're probably going to want to take a spoon or a fork and just taste it to make sure that it's as done as you like it. I like to have my rice mixture to be just a little bit moist, almost like I had poured gravy over it. But I want the rice to be well cooked. But then I like the little extra liquid. So I'm going to place this back in the oven, and voila, there he is. Can you smell that from right there where you are? Woo! This is going to be good. I have some Italian bread that I'm going to, actually it's already sliced. I'm going to put a little butter on it and toast it up so that we can have that. And the big guy and I decided that instead of a hot vegetable, we're going to serve a salad on the side. So dinner is going to come together very quickly. Well, it's time to get dinner on the plate. And as you can see, the toast is out. I'm going to take the foil off. I've got serving bowls that I'm going to put our food in. I'm scooping out the rice and the chicken together. And any that's left is going to go on the side. So there's our rice. And it is smelling so good. And I need one for me, and I need one for the big guy. So let me get a cloth and kind of clean that plate off. You'll notice that the skin of the chicken stayed nice and crispy in spite of having the foil on top. And it looks very nice because it's nice and brown and golden. You always want that golden brown and delicious. And then I'm going to add a couple of pieces of bread on the side. These little slices are small. And so there's another plate. Looks pretty good. Yummy. So let me take you over to the table where I have both of the plates sitting there ready for everybody to pick up. I have mine and the big guys. Our salads are there. Everything's nice and colorful. And I don't know about you, but I'm ready to eat. So I'm going to take a good bite. Oh my goodness. This has been a wonderful day. I have done some work in the kitchen, and I'm still cleaning up and getting things into those cabinets and finishing things up. But you know what? There's always room for a delicious meal. And that's exactly what I've got right here. So once I finish eating, when I finish eating with you, I'm going to go in there to the big guy. feeding your family for $10 or less does not have to be boring, and it can certainly be attractive and delicious. Now, I hope you have enjoyed being right here in the kitchen with me, and I hope that you will try this version of chicken and rice at your house because it was certainly delicious. And you know what? I know your family will enjoy it. So, have a blessed and wonderful time.